broadcast. And we are live. It is December the 9th, 2018. Yes, I'm looking at the clock on the computer as usual because I never know what day it is. 8 p.m. Eastern. It's your friendly neighborhood hippie, Ben Coombs from Canucks with Guitars, and I'm hanging out with Nick in the States, who is back in full attack, reviewing guitars, building guitars, checking out this, checking out that. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, man. This is great. It's always fun to do a little chat especially on a Sunday night, which is nice. I'll apologize ahead of time in case a stray child comes running through. My children, I don't know where they get it from, are not shy and really enjoy waving hi to the world. So it's pretty hilarious. But no, it's great to be back. You know, I took my unscheduled 5-month YouTube hiatus to deal with the real life outside of toys, and so it's great to be back playing with gear. Unfortunately, it also means that as soon as I get back, I start acquiring gear, and gear starts showing up for, which is great. It's a great problem. First world problems, fantastic. But like, oh my god!
So what came first? You doing videos, or the first package that comes in the mail, and your wife says, "You're doing videos again, aren't you?"
I will tell you that the guys from Reno Guitars, Cameron over there is a good guy. We've gone back and forth for years. I bought one when they moved out of doing things that were a very accurate silhouette of major manufacturers and went to doing things that had more of their own take on shapes after being encouraged to do so by said manufacturers. They came out with, and I bought one a while back, did a video for them. They were super appreciative, and they said once I get a little bigger, so they sent out another one, a purple guitar, and Cam reached out. He's like, "Hey, you want to do a review for it? I'll send it out to you. No problem." I'm like, "That's awesome." He goes, "Hey, no, you haven't put much out yet." I'm like, "Yeah, I've been looking for the thing to kick me in the butt to get back into it and get full force. And this is the perfect kick in the butt. So we can pick the purple guitar, of which, it showed up. My daughter was like, "So that's mine?"
Let's see. Who do we have in the chat? We got 9 people already jumping in the first minute or so. We've got Metal Stage O. Speaking of 5-month sabbaticals, he's recently back as well. We got Brian Cote, we've got Adam EVH, we have Jim's Corner, Scott Nickerson, Earl Painter, Terry's GG&G, my lovely sister Amanda, and Guitar Hack. Nice.
What's up, guys? I know Guitar Hack, and I know Terry is omnipresent on the Guitar Hangout, which I love. It always feels like home because I see Terry shows up there, usually is moderating, which he's just a good, excellent human being. So what's up, guys?
Dennis Brio from your neck of the woods up in New Hampshire.
Hey, right around the corner.
Yes, awesome.
Now, where are you in Canada?
I am 100 miles east of Toronto.
Gotcha. Okay, so not too far away from over there.
Lake Ontario from Rochester, New York, if that helps as well.
Gotcha. Yep, very much so. Sweet. So actually, not that far in the general area of the world.
Yes, exactly. And Terry saying hello to everyone. Yes, I swear, when Terry started following me, I had to make him a moderator because I wanted to feel like, the big guys, because he is the ambassador of YouTube.
He is the best on the planet. I love it. Anyone I speak to, Terry's name usually comes up, and I'm like, "Oh, and I saw Terry there, and he's asked this question." He's like, "Oh, Terry," but everyone's got a Terry story because he's just there. He's great, and always super appreciated.
We got Brad Miller and Lando 27 Music tuning in from my nation's capital.
Landon, what's up, man?
Yes. Landon did a great little video there on that Frontman 10 and how it took pedals. Quite interesting.
Yeah, those get slagged, but first of all, like 80% of guitars started with a Frontman something or other?
I gigged for 2 years with a Frontman half stack.
Oh, that's awesome. That is fantastic.
I walked into a pawn shop. It was sitting there for 300 Canadian. I said, "For the head or the cab?" And they said both. I went, "Sold."
Done. Nice and easy.
So if you folks have any questions for Nick or myself, feel free to ask. We're just happy to talk gear. And see, you were at GitCon, were you not, good sir?
I was supposed to go to GitCon, and we'll get this away, an interesting story away early too, because people always ask. I was supposed to go GitCon. I was flying out on Monday morning to go to GitCon, and on Friday morning, my daughter was diagnosed with lymphoma, so I didn't go to GitCon. Stayed home, which was obviously the right thing to do. She's now kicking butt. She's 7 months into treatment, something like that. Everything's going awesome. She's great. The only challenge we have is it was just side effects. You know, she gets 3 or 4 days, 5 days out of a 3-week cycle. She isn't feeling the greatest. But yeah, so I didn't get to go, which I was bummed because so many cool people. What a great thing they put on. Toman organizes and Henning as well. Such a wonderful thing of bringing people together. And I know that everyone really, it seemed to have a lot of fun. And if you can't go to Toman and have fun, who, you know, has everything. Yeah, they've got your cheap little Harley Benton to your private stock PRS and everything in between there. And it seems like a really well done shop that I was bummed not to go. But at some point in the near future, I want to try and get into that part of the world and go pop in there and say, hey, and maybe another GitCon or something.
Hey, we got ZD351 and Earl Painter asks, guys, what is a good looper pedal to buy?
So I'll answer my favorite thing on loopers.
Yes.
I'm functionally, I have to use the right words, what we're allowed to say today. I am challenged with loopers. Like I had a Ditto pedal. I was never great with hitting it. So what I use for a looper now, honestly, when I'm just playing myself, is I use the Trio Plus. Because the great thing about the Trio Plus is you learn your progression. When you hit the loop, it knows where things starts and it knows where things end. So you're not doing the toe tap stuff. So it gets you a really nice rendition loop to go back and loop. And then you have the options of drums and bass and all the other crap underneath it. But it's a less frustrating living room experience for me.
Nice.
To play with that. And then you get the bonus of having drums and bass underneath it. And they added a dummy button because the first Trio tried to, the bassist tried to impress you with his crazy bass licks. And like, you're like, wait, I don't even know what chord we're on now. I'm completely lost.
Quit showing me up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got a dumb bass player button, which is pretty cool. What'd you grab?
I grabbed a Canadian company, go figure, but also available in the United States. I believe Guitar Center is carrying them. This is the Lasso Looper from Outlaw Effects. Oh,
very cool.
Very affordable. They're built in China. The company's out of Montreal. And I think it retails for about $80 Canadian. So you're looking at about $55, $60 US.
Oh, that's short money. That's perfect.
Yeah, and I think it does up to like 5 or 7 minutes. I can't remember which.
That's nice.
You do have to be on the ball for timing, like you say, because it is a basic that way. And for me, it was a text message to my co-host Richie to find out how to turn it off. Because all I could do was add layers. I couldn't figure out how to stop them.
Is it like a hold? Is it a hold on it or something? Or is it a double tap? So. Yeah. It's always cool. It's great to have just the one thing to go with, but then you're like, oh no, what special thing do I need to do on that?
Yeah, and all you hear is you flubbing, moving your hand across the fretboard while you're leaning over to find out what's going on. And...
Exactly. Loopers are maddening. Hold on one sec. Hey, Matt. Why don't you sit over there, okay? I'm not. Oh, you want to watch it? Yeah. There you go. My daughter said that she wants to watch us too, so I'm gonna go put her on the live stream over there. Whoops.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate Madeline watching.
There you go, Bubs. Over there, though. Okay, go put your headphones on. Don't sit here.
It's mute.
Okay, she's just watching them. Okay, cool. So yeah, I've gotten better at it, but then once I get the Trio, I got totally bad at it again because I didn't have to get the timing back on.
Right.
So. But
awesome. Oh, everyone's saying hello to each other. Earl says, thanks for the answer, guys. No problem. Yeah, I think that Digitech Trio, when that first came out too, even the first one, I went, oh, this is a game changer for songwriting.
Oh, it's so great. And it's just, if in the random time that I have an hour or two completely free, before I'd fire up GarageBand or go into Logic and have to, now the drummer's easier now. It didn't used to be so easy. So you're finding drum loops, you're kind of dragging stuff out or whatever. That I'm like, play a progression, do that, go other places with the progression, especially if you're practicing chords in different spots on the neck. Yeah. It's the best thing because it always sounds right or it doesn't. Right. then you know you're not doing it. Like, wait, no, that isn't a D right there. I thought it was a D, but that's a C sharp. Oh, there we go. So it's just a cool one. And the new pedal, the newer one's nice because it adds the looping. It adds the dummy out the bass player. So yeah, so it's I dig it a lot. But Matt, you got it. Why don't you go sit over there, okay? Because they can hear you talking the whole time, darling.
Hey, I think I heard her say I'm subscribing, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, no, it's subscribe. And she's also like, be sure to talk us. So Madeline, I'm famous for starting 6 or 7 projects, and then I eventually start stopping and finishing projects. Mm-hmm. And because I only have 4 or 5 projects right now, she needed to add another one. So we were at Guitar Center the other day, and she saw one of the mini ZZ Top She's Got Legs furry guitars.
Oh.
And she's like, Dad, I want to buy that. I'm like, okay, like $20 or whatever for little things. So we didn't buy it. And so we left, and she's like, can we make one of those? This was this morning. So this morning I'm like, sure. What do you want to do? She's like, I want to do one of the A guitars that people call V for stupid reasons, because it's obviously an A. And I'm like, okay, let's. So we went on Toman's site, found a $111 Harley Benton Flying V, found which was really cool. We went and found this. You could buy it by the yard, rainbow fur material. So it's it's 60-inch whatever to do that. And then while we were there, we went over to inlaystickers.com, this cool little place in Japan that I've used before, and found cat paw prints. And then over across 3 frets, it's got a full cat that sits on the fretboard, probably framing the 12th fret, and then a bunch more cat paw prints on all the other frets. And she's like, I want to make that. I'm like, hold on, do the math card thing. I'm like, all right, next YouTube check, Mads. That's the project, is can we make the Madeline version of the Legs guitar? We're not going to make it spin, though. It's just going to be.
And you can make it an A shape if you put a Bigsby on it, because you actually have to put a bar through, right?
The crossbar. Who was that? Albert King. I think the Albert King V has the little bar and a B3 sitting there,
right? Which
is super cool.
I can't.
Hey ZD, what's going on, man? Yeah. So it should be just fun, and the fact it's going to be a relatively cheap guitar and a bunch of rubber cement. And we'll see how it works. Man, stuff. You can't live chat.
Well, then you can start a whole new debate. Does mohair affect tone?
Oh, it's tone mohair, though. We only shop from the shops on Amazon that say that they're tone mohair. All the tone deaf mohairs they're sold to different regions of the world, not on Amazon.
Yes, not for use on musical instruments. No.
Yes, yeah, not safe. It actually says on the thing, not safe for musical instruments.
Feel free to do the dashboard of your van, but not your guitar.
Exactly. So that should be pretty cool. Hey, Soda Pop's on here. What's going on, Todd? The other project, though, I encourage everybody, if you haven't done it, to build a Barncaster. Because it is the most freeing guitar ever, because who cares if you ding it? The finish, usually you're rubbing some gunstock oil or something like that just to sort of protect, or nothing. Some people just do nothing. And you make it telly, but you just throw humbuckers, throw whatever you want in it. And it's a great way to recycle parts you've got laying around. The first Barncaster I built, it was a pine Barncaster. And the guy who routed it, nothing lined up. So my rule was the only thing I was allowed to use to fix it, was a hammer and a screwdriver. So if I needed more room in the pickup, I just used a flathead screwdriver, hammered a little bit, gave me more room, put a mini humbucker in the neck. Everything was great. It was the easiest guitar I've ever worked on, and it sounds awesome. So that's been the other thing. So I'm building somewhere back here.
If I didn't say hello earlier, hey RJ, Todd Flowers. Oh yes.
Building that guy, and this is actually made of oak, and all I did was put a little true oil on it.
And but how does that work?
It does a good job of just protecting it. It's a nice feel.
Oh yeah.
So if you look at that, that's just nice, and it's not a roasted maple neck, but it's tinted not in a yellow. It's actually a nice.
It reminds me of one of the Fender Japan necks tint.
It's a nice cool tint. But what's neat about this guy is the guy who had it before me must have used the guy who makes the bodies used a metal brush, something you'd use to scrub down a butcher's block or whatever, and then all he did was rub it over with some black dye so it settled into those and sanded it back quick, so it gives it that kind of aged, distressed look. It's heavy, but it's just a fun guitar. Yeah, so for this one I bought.
Is it heavy?
Yes. It's not
sustained for days.
Yeah, exactly. It's tone oak.
My signature telly is a mahogany body, so
those are they have a weight to them, right?
Oh, it does. Yeah, that with P90s. Whew.
Yeah, but it'll sing, and that's the great thing.
It sings to the point, especially the bridge pickup's overwound. It's sung to the point where I got to put a noise gate back on my pedal board.
Exactly. Especially in some rooms, right? That if it's picking up the lights or whatever.
Yeah, the first gig I played with it wasn't bad. It was a big open room, but it was a charity event, so we were playing much quieter overall. And then the next week we played a bar gig, and it was just howling, and I'm like, oh my. And then I keep a decibel meter on my phone, and we were pushing 113, 114 decibels on stage. And I went, yeah, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. Hot. I love the P90. It's funny. You can tell like many people, I hate to be generalizing, but like guitarists under the age of 30 have somehow just missed out on the P90 for the most part. So like when one stumbles into them, like, especially if they're plugged into like something Marshally, Britishy, punchy thing, and you let those things have something that has a hairy edge with a P90 that hasn't even a hairy edge, you're like, whoa, what the hell is this? And I'm like, this is a P90. Enjoy. Yeah. Have fun chasing these.
We had the resurgence with the offsets with P90s, with the grunge era, or before with the alternative, quote unquote, college music, we used to call it. Yeah. And but through the night, into the 90s, and then all of a sudden it just stopped again. Like it was either a Les Paul through a Marshall or a Telly through a Fender. It just went two extremes, it seems. Excuse me. Did I lock up? Did we freeze up here, folks? Somebody can let me know in the chat. Hey, Mitch Heyman, congrats again on the Wolfgang. Okay, so Nick may have frozen. Okay, fair enough. Well, hopefully he can jump back in. And welcome, Jim's Corner. I think you're new to the channel, so definitely welcome, of course. Well, welcome everyone, but yes, maybe Nick can jump out and jump back in. I'll type it in the chat. Oh, and he's back.
We're back.
Yeah!
I was like, how do I communicate? I'm like, I was going to just type in the chat. He's got the chat open. Jump out and jump back in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I realized I've actually been connected to my work VPN until just then. So now I'm just going, things may be better now, hopefully.
There we go.
Cool. Shh, buddy. Everybody can hear you.
Hey, good evening, everyone, he says.
Good evening.
Yes.
It's good. But to finish the thought, so for this Barncaster thing, I got the Earl Slick pickup set from GFS with quick plugs and a little harness, because they're already aged looking too. And then I tracked down some age bridge, age everything. And then I sprung for like age Goto tuners, which are not cheap. Those Japanese age ones are like $60, $70, something like that.
Or you could do what Grover Jackson does, just leave the hardware in a dish of Coca-Cola for a night.
I've done that before too. I had muriatic acid for a while until my wife looked at it and said, "Why do you have muriatic acid for? Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, I don't know. I aged a bridge once. So hey, Jamal's on here. Jamal's another guy. Jamal's another guy like Terry, that he seems to be everywhere that I show up in one of these things. I see Jamal there too, which is awesome.
And he's always tuning in from work, no less.
Yeah, work, the car, the shower, wherever he is. Dedicated. He's plugged in.
Well, we do appreciate. We've got 33 people watching. That's awesome. Appreciate it. So, by any chance, are you going to NAMM this year?
I'm not this year. It couldn't fit it in. I had a great offer to be able to go. A buddy of mine offered up a ticket to go, who owns a music store. Ike over at Flipside Music is in Denver, Colorado. Ike is an awesome dude.
Ike is a friend of the channel here as well. Yeah.
He's just a good guy. So he's like, "Hey, anytime you need to go, let me know." I'm like, "Cool." But this year I couldn't make it happen. If next year might be, timing will be a little bit better. I may do that because I can have the kids go to Disneyland right next door. I can at least get in early morning, do some stuff, blast through, and check it out. I'm intrigued. I want to do a Summer Dam one of these years too. That always looks cool.
Yeah,
and then
I like that idea too because we're in Nashville, right?
Yeah, so like you've got all of that and the Ryman and all the other stuff there that is just great players, great time, great music stores. Like that's what I want to go see.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. I'm going to NAMM for the first time. Once I started the channel after a few months, I was kind of pushed into starting a GoFundMe because I was like, I can't do it myself. And then the fine folks that have been subscribed, we raised enough money that, and fortunately or unfortunately, my co-host Richie can't make the trip due to some, well, he got married the end of September, so he's still kind of,
yeah, he's going to dig out of that for the next ever.
Yeah. So it's like, we're like, we have this much money, which could kind of get one of us there. But as a result, between savings and fundraising, we raised enough. People buying the Canucks with Guitar shirts and stuff, which is awesome.
That's great.
And ironically enough, Ike from Flipside was able to provide a pass to my buddy JJ, who's putting me up while I'm there. So he lives in Orange County, luckily.
That's awesome. It should be great, man. I would have loved to have gone this year. It's just there was no way to do it. We've also got a family trip in March, so it's like it just is tough. But it looks like you've got to at least do it once. I know some people are like, oh, it's not worth it. I'm like, yeah, but you still got to do it once. You got to see it. You got to get a feel for it. It's set. It looks like a cool thing. I want to check out Sweetwater does that thing every year too. My friend Blackjack goes to that every time, and she says it's really great. I think that's down in, I don't even know where that is. She's in Tennessee or something. So somewhere down in the middle of the East Coast. And I want to try and do that at some point because it just seems like a great thing. So it should be good.
Yeah. I was able to do, 2 events this year. I did Sweetwater's Gear Fest. And a couple of weeks prior to that, Cosmo Music, just north of Toronto, did their version called Music Fest. And that was really good. They had like 20, 30 vendors at the Music Fest event, but it appeared that I was the only YouTuber there. So,
oh, see, that's cool. Then you get the free run of the place.
I spent an hour hanging out with Robert Keeley.
That's cool. That's a good dude to hang out with. Hey, Shane from In the Blues. I'm talking to the pop today. Shane is an awesome dude. If anybody has never been to Shane's channel, go check him out.
Yeah, I am even interested in it.
And Mads is even interested in it. Exactly. Good dude. Hell of a player. He's a cracking guitar player, I think is how he says it.
Hey, help you make the intro.
Yeah, you know, actually on my intro, the lead that you hear over the rhythm is Shane playing.
Oh, cool.
It's
which
very
we're
good.
super grateful for.
Well, personally, my favorite part of your videos is the endings.
I try to have fun with those. As soon as YouTube gave the 20 seconds to do the video referral or whatever, I'm like, how can we have fun with these? Mads and I were playing the other day trying to find another couple of good ones to do.
I just love the robe and the coffee mug.
Hey, what are you doing here? Just go home. And it's great though, because once again, you learn generations, because you get 2/3 of the people that have commented like, oh, you did the Deadpool. And I'm like, yeah, the Deadpool. It's the Ferris Bueller, man. But Ferris Bueller's now 30 years ago almost. So
yeah, I prefer not to think about it.
Yeah, I've watched that movie far too many times. It's fantastic.
Based my life on certain aspects, maybe. Well, did I say that out loud? No.
Oh, I did. Oh, we did a lot too. There's a lot of school day adventures that was an inspiration for us.
Yep.
No.
So it's just good.
And RJ, yes, I saw your videos. I haven't had a chance to check them out yet. He posted a couple of pedal demos they did.
Oh, cool. I have to check that out. That should be cool. Shane said that you're
here. A couple more pedal videos done today, so they'll be going up, I think, Thursday and Friday. I'm trying to do at least one video a day for the rest of the year. So.
Oh wow, good for you. I'm trying to make sure I can still put out one video a week for the rest of the year, if not two. I'm setting the bar really low. But
it was Shane that he said, why don't you do videos on all your gear that you own? And I looked around, and I think last week's hangout, I counted 42 pedals in my collection. So, there's a month plus right there.
Seriously, man. That's the thing. You just go through it. And it's cool because so many channels. Just it's just new stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, oh, here's a new thing, here's a new this, here's a new that. And that's why, like, that's why I'll use a Shane example. Shane's like, go get a PV Bandit Red Stripe. He's like, they're just a hell of a guitar and a hell of an amp. And there's actually one for sale around the corner at the shop, and it's like $140. And there's a kid in there the other day who was looking at, I don't know, it's a Vox valve state, a Vox AVT thing, and then a Marshall valve state. Yeah. And then they had that there. I'm like, could just play this. I'm like, listen to the reverb, listen whatever. And it's like, but the crunch isn't what I want. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Platform.
Yeah, it's just a foot of pedal. Have a fun with it. They're great things. And for 150 US, like, how can you complain?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, like I get a few of those, like on some of the videos I put up, people are like, hey, what are those like I've done some of my amps recently. What do they go for? And it was like, cheap, man. They're really cheap, But it's funny too, is stuff that was around 2 or 3 years ago, crazy numbers on stuff like for volume. You just don't see the products out anymore. Like when we were talking earlier about the Frontman series, they were everywhere, and all of a sudden they just kind of dried up recently again. Done.
Well, because everyone's now you gotta have a Mustang this or whatever, and that's the one. Or I'm even seeing Line 6 Spiders start to disappear. I'm like, where do they go? Like, not that I'm searching for one, but yeah, exactly. They're all in landfills at this point. So there were tons, and now you just don't see them.
Yes, and I'm actually surprised PV Bandits are still affordable after all the promotion that they've got through YouTube.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's one of those cool little amps. It's just, they're great. The one that, who's excellent, but awful at ruining prices though. And I'm surprised the channel isn't bigger than it is. You ever seen Johan Segeban? I think he's a Dutch guy.
Okay.
He's got access to an amazing amount of really nice Gibsons and Fenders, vintage and then custom shop. And then like every Marshall on the planet, from old ones to new ones. But so Tone Snobs go there. Tone Snobs, me too. Go there and you hear him like, let me see original 59 Les Paul played out of an original, either 1987 or a Plexi or whatever, something amazing. But then the next week he'll be like, here's a little Marshall Lead 12 solid state micro stack. And he goes and listen to the tones that come out of it and recorded it. Sounds stellar. And so then I'm in the guitar shop looking at the $220 stack and I'm like, I don't need this. But Johan played it and it sounded great.
Yeah, that's true. And it's great too. Like, it seems like new channels are coming up all the time. Like, I've been around forever. Like, I started in January, but even since January, I've seen a few people coming up and they're like, well, Ben said this or help me with that. And I'm like, I'm just paying it forward, but it's like literally like waves on the ocean, just constantly, and some people are getting out of it. Some people, move on or what have you, but there's always new, fresh people. So why not? Yeah. Make videos with the gear you own. You don't have to be a millionaire to do it. That's for sure. And and it's another opinion on a piece of kit too. Like, someone might come across your video and go, hey, I've never used it in that context.
Right. Oh, exactly. And the guitar price ladder is a game of diminishing returns. It's not to say that the $5,000 guitar isn't better than the $500 guitar, right? It's just that the steps between them are a lot less than the steps between the $100 guitar and the $500 guitar. Yes. There's a pretty massive difference in that step. Whereas the other two, you're like, oh yeah, they get there. But they're still there. My buddy Andy and I went to Guitar Center in Boston, and their high-end room was nice then. It was really well stocked. And we compared a Gibson 58 reissue, which is like their middle of the road of the custom shop reissue models, right, with a 59 True Historic, which is like the same rock produced the metal that produced the screw in the same pattern that when it's supposedly the most precise thing possible. And I will tell you that the True Historic sounded a little bit better, and it wasn't just because the price. I'm like, no way, there's no way. And we tried to think an R7 and R8 and that R9, and it was a little bit nicer, a little bit different, but it was so small that you had to have them A-B'd. Right. If you didn't have them A-B'd, you're like, this is amazing. And I think that's what ruins cheap guitars for some people, is it sounds great until you have the really great one next to it. And you're like, oh, bummer. Like, now I've seen it.
It's like the way I tell a lot of people, like, You know, like for a Telecaster, whether it be a Squire or a Mexican or an American, it's like a lot of people have like EP boosters on their board, and it's an always-on pedal.
Yep.
You know, buying a custom shop, it's the EP booster to the standard line. They both sound great, but you're gonna be like, okay, that one sounds a little bit better.
It's just more full, and especially when you pick up like a Gibson with 57 classics versus any import with almost any import with normal humbuckers in the sub $300 or $500 range.
Yeah.
Like a 57 classic neck pickup is gigantic. It is a big honking whopper of a, so no matter what in it, but it doesn't sound great. You have to roll down the volume on it, back off the volume, maybe back off a little tone on the thing to get it to work in every situation because it's so big and honking. But when you're just A-Bing from one to the next, you're like, oh, this destroys that because it's just a bigger pickup, which makes it a challenge when you go from like a Gibson to a PRS, because PRS pickups and a PRS body and construction doesn't make the whole guitar as big and as warm sounding. So you're like, oh, it's not, it's just different. But it fits in a mix, it fits in a band, it fits. So many of those guitars that have anonymous tones can fit in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and you never know what you're going to stumble on for a combination of amp, guitar, and pedal that works for you best. Thank you, Terry, for posting that. In there. And I want to say hi to David Ennis and Zach Thong for tuning in as well. Longtime viewers. Well, then again, I'm sure you're recognizing a lot of the same names. As big as YouTube is,
it's very small.
It's a very calming community.
Well, and like, you know, I'm not a shredder guy too. So like the people that are attracted to the non super speedy shreddery stuff is an even smaller real focus community, which is pretty sweet. You know, like it's just cool. That's part of the whole YouTube gig. That's just amazing is what you'll have a few bad eggs in there, but like you meet some really cool people that I consider good friends just from the comments, and in Misty in the comments, you see things or they'll share some stuff and maybe have a channel. It's just really cool. And for me, pay attention for this, since you just started your channel a little while back, you'll remember people that came up in your class. Because the biggest success story of the people that came out right when I did was my first video was on a unboxing a Chibson, and I did an unboxing video on Mike's channel, China Guitar Skeptic. That he's to blame for the whole thing. And then right around then, Hunter Aguefish posted one of his unboxings, and Hunter's playing this thing and he's making faces and his cat's in the background. And I'm like, dude, you have to do more videos. This is, you really, really, really need to do this. Hunter's now flying. The kid's great. He's put a ton of kid. He's in his 20s.
Yeah.
But he's
he really blew up after last year's GetCon too.
Yeah.
It really blew up.
Well, and it was good too, because I think he was burning out a little bit. And it seemed to really lift him right back up. And now it's taken it to the next level, which is good, because he's a very, very good dude. And loves his gear, has his niche, likes how he demos. I think he puts a lot of work into his product, which is pretty sweet.
Hey, we got Absolute Mayhem tuning in. He says he didn't get a notification or anything. Oh, it's terrible. That's unacceptable.
This place is falling apart, YouTube.
I know. Well, eventually they'll start actually notifying us when premieres start and not when they end. That's my current pet peeve. But at least I'm not backwards on the mobile version after 6 months. We do our Thursday show based off of an iPad, and we were backwards for 6 months. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, I've got subscribers that have watched me for half the time I've been doing this, and they probably think that we're lefties. I know.
And it shows my respect for Shane that usually if I see a lefty, I'm like, you know, and I move on. Like there is a prejudice if you're a right-handed player when you see a lefty play. I'll just call it out there, and I have to rise above this.
Yeah, and I also have to blame Shane though, that every time I see a lefty guitar in a shop, I hear a horn going off in my head.
I do the same. I actually had thought about I was somewhere recently, and they had a headstock repair lefty Les Paul Studio that had a P90 in the neck. It might have even had a Bigsby on it. And I probably could have gotten it for like $600, $625, which would have been a great deal. And I thought about just buying it to keep here for like the token lefty that you're friends with, that you're like, hey, I got this thing that's really sweet. Come jam. There's a guitar here for you, man. It's good. Because I know he went to I saw his stuff when he went out to the thing at, why am I forgetting it? Framus' stuff. Yeah.
That would be GitCon. You missed what? Toman University.
I was at TGU was the one that I missed, not GitCon. And he was at GitCon, and there was like 2 guitars for him there. I was like, that's just mean. Shane says, grab the guitar, Nick. We can jam next year.
Nice.
We'll do.
Yeah, and 2 very diverse guitars. Here's an RG 550 and a jazz box.
Yeah. You're missing. It's very polarizing there. There's a lot of down Main Street that you're not really covering with that.
Yeah. But he persevered.
Yeah, he survived.
Yeah.
You know what? A buddy of mine, David, actually, I met. He's the one that turned me on to Shane's channel a couple years ago. Nice guy from Portugal. He, for the longest time, bugged me to tune a guitar down to B standard tuning. And I'm like, he's like, you haven't lived till you've played in B standard. It's odd. And basically, you buy a 7-string set, keep the high E string for when you break a high E string on any of your other guitars, and string it up that way. I had this blue semi-hollow 335 style guitar was the first guitar I learned how to fix a nut on.
Okay.
the string it was just way too big for normal strings, but I was like, oh, before I rip the nut out, I can put a 7-string set. The fat strings now perfectly grooves in there. It sets up great for it. And so I've actually been recording a track this weekend using that tuned to B and then stacking other guitars on it and playing and that kind of stuff. But it's not as life-changing as my friend had told me, but it's a fun way to to have like a baritone-y, bassy kind of thing there.
Yeah, it'd be a little off only due to the scale length, but still work.
It still works. It's just a fat sound. It's a boom, boom. It's just nice.
Guitar, hello. Yeah, I remember I was watching a live stream. I want to say it was the Johnny Bean channel, and one of the guys on the panel, Jay Hannon, plays a 7-string Ibanez. And he's like, oh, I can't play this one. I broke my high E string. So I went, so you have a baritone guitar now?
Right. It's like, that's all it is.
Yeah, I guess
sort of, though. But the challenge is a 7-string, what would be an F sharp on a 6-string is a G.
Right.
So it's because I originally found the 7-string way to do that. And I'm like tuning it. I'm like, no, that's off. And I was like, nope, it's F sharp if you're going to have 6. Then you do a G there. And then you have an E on the high end for that. So it is funky. It's just a little bit different than a baritone by playing it out. Because I just ran into that.
Like, man, Dan's in here talking amplifiers.
But does it? Absolute man. But does it, gent? That's I first played it. I've got a Mesa Boogie Mark V 25, and so I put it on like the extreme channel, cranked it, and I started playing it. And what's so stupid about me doing that on that guitar is those are unpouted pickups.
Oh, geez.
So the house is squealing, it's backing up. So I ended up running it in and just playing through headphones with it. I've got a little 2-notes Captor, which is I've yet to get that sounding perfect. Even with their wall of sound plugins and stuff, I'm still not super happy with it. To the point that I'm thinking of either getting their 2-notes live, which is everybody just loves that thing, or the studio. But the challenge with that is those things are like $1,500. And like a Kemper is $1,500. So like you can either plug that behind your amp and run all your stuff, or for lazy YouTubers like me, I can just have a Kemper and just run in, and have it done. So it's a tough decision. And then I went and spent that money on a PRS anyway. So sometime next year, maybe.
Welcome, Jeff Ripplinger. And we were talking about earlier, JJ. JJ's House of Jams, my host for NAMM.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome.
The late arrival, what up, guitar freaks? And Dennis Brio says he subbed to your channel. Yes, if you guys
welcome on board.
The next channel, there is a link down below in the description. Check out the channel. Great stuff.
Jamal Kareem is loading a 777 while doing this. Oh man, good for you, dude. That is awesome.
Nice. Yeah, we were up to 48 watching a minute ago, and I guess 8 people didn't like us talking about that. Or someone else is on.
They misunderstood, and they thought that I didn't believe in Tonewoods when I was making fun of Tonewood stuff. But no.
Apparently, yeah.
I have a t-shirt that I had made up that just says Tonewood agnostic. Which if people get hung up on the word agnostic, it means that I'm open to the fact that Tonewood could be a thing. But I just don't care to delve into it very deep.
Exactly. Well, it was like, yeah, I remember like when I was having my guitar built, he's like, so, I told him at first I was just like, I want a Tele P90s, vintage size frets, stainless. And that was my big thing, stainless. And he's like, okay. And then he comes back with 20 questions just for the neck profile. And and all I kept telling him, I'm like, I don't know, 60s neck unfinished. And he's like, well, what do you mean unfinished? Like just a satin finish? Or no, like no finish.
Like the wood.
And he's like, well, who goes with an unfinished neck? I said, yeah, I've been hanging out in a lot of Eddie Van Halen chats lately, so
they feel nice, man. It's just, neck builders like, but it might warp, it might whatever. You're like, yeah, but it might be awesome. I feel just really good.
That's what I was like. If it works, you can build me another neck. You kept the CNC machine profile, so
yeah, you're good. If it's a bolt neck, it's the easiest thing. You got it. You're good and covered there.
Perfect.
Somebody had asked. Let me scroll back too. Brian Cote asked how to like the Mesa Mark V. I dig the Mark V a lot because of just the amount of channels I have to play with. I'm still a recovering Marshall guy though. So like the neck pickup slashy lead tones are really hard to get out of a Mesa. You can get near it. You can get the sorry stuff. Really hard for me to get. Maybe other people have gotten it better than I have there, but I kind of get a little challenge that way. But aside from that, it's great. The built-in cab simulation auto out though, it's just not good, which is kind of a bummer. But for the reverb in it and for everything, I really enjoy the little Mark V. It gets the majority of the play here. The second most popular amp I play is I've got one of the new DSL 20 heads,
right?
Which I really like that too. The cleans are surprisingly good for Marshall, and it gets really high gain, or for me, high gain,
right.
And really kind of dig that thing.
And I would imagine you usually are plugging directly into an amp when you're playing.
Yeah, I am doing. My pedal set. I've got like a Klon. I've got a Tube Screamer, and then I use a BBE Sonic Maximizer for a lot. Here's the thing. If you're out there, if you're listening to this, if you have inexpensive guitars and you want your guitar just to sound like we talked about earlier, like one class of guitar higher, try a BBE Sonic Stomp, set both things to 12 and leave it always on. It makes pickups more articulate. It makes it compresses a little bit, it EQs a little, it just does it just enough that it's an awesome always on, very cool thing to put on there. Really great guitar pedal nerds and studio guys hate it because it doesn't give them enough control and they'd rather have a compressor in an EQ box and do some magical things with that, which I get. But for like, you just want something to make your rig immediately sound better, it's worth trying. You can get them for 40 or 50 bucks used. And it's a great magic little box to just make everything a little bit better. And it works in 90% of what I do.
I've for a used one for years and you just don't see them in this neck of the woods.
Really? Yeah. You got to eBay it or whatever.
Buys them and keeps them.
Yeah, they're great. I've seen them. I only have one right now. I've usually tried to stock a second one because someone will come by and play it and they're like, I'm like, just give me 40 bucks. Here you go. I've got it here because I know you're going to want it and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, well, it's like those EP boosters I mentioned earlier. Everybody has them and you never see them for sale used.
No, and they're not so expensive, but they're just expensive enough that it's like, do I can make my Klon pedal kind of just do a boost, but it's not fully transparent. It kind of boosts the mids a little. Those are great pedals.
Yeah.
Those are great too if you're playing if you're a humbucker guy who's switching over to a Strat and suddenly lost tonally. They really help get the Strat to do a lot of the things with your typical settings on your amps and that kind of stuff. It's a good way to make the transition.
That's me because I'm going between humbuckers and singles over the course of a night, or depending on what mood I'm in, like I could play the same 4 sets 2 nights in a row and I might play a Tele one night and a Les Paul the next just because that's what I feel like playing that night, right?
Yep. Oh, exactly. And not everybody is Billy Gibbons. I don't know if everybody's seen any of the rig rundowns, but Billy has an EQ box that basically has a preloaded profile for all the pickups in his guitars. So his awesome guitar tech, who's also a backup singer, who also sings, plays on a couple tracks, who's the hardest working dude in the business, whose name Elmore something. he goes and just presses every time he switches the guitar, presses a different EQ profile. So all of his guitars are EQ matched, so they sound pretty much like Billy Gibbons every time he plays. It's great to have that, but if not, it's good to have something like EQ Booster where you can step on it and get there pretty close.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I find. Yeah, difference in volumes and stuff like that, going from guitar to guitar. Again, and it's funny too because usually that also involves a text between Richie and me because he's my co-host for the weekly show, but we're in our band together, and he'd be like, "So you in Telly Country tomorrow night or Les Paul Country? What are you bringing out?
Where are you playing on this one? Where are you feeling this one?"
And then because if he says, "Well, I'm thinking about playing my Strat," I'll say, "Okay, well, I'll either bring my humbucker Telly or Les Paul to offset that, or I'll be bringing out the P90s." He's like, "Oh, great, right in the middle, thanks."
Yeah, right. You want to have the polar. It's nice when you can play the two of them around one another.
Yep.
Yeah. Or
hey,
EQ. But
Michael Smith, the captain, joining us. Good to see you.
Hey.
At a Denver, Colorado himself.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Originally from the Bronx.
The Bronx.
Yeah.
He's a refugee to Colorado. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. So yes, if you guys have had some great questions so far. Yeah, JJ saying the EP booster is awesome.
Yeah,
yes,
I might have to get one of those.
Playing now, JJ. He recently converted over to a heel. Well, I guess almost a year ago now, because as a result, I got his old pedal board.
Oh, there you go. I looked at those Helix. I recently went down the Helix versus Kemper versus I had a buddy with a used Axe FX version, maybe 2, not version 3. And then a couple of other things, and went down the whole rabbit hole for like 3 weeks of looking at everything. And I'm like, none of them are inexpensive, except maybe the used Axe FX would have been. But you can't go wrong with any of those. Like, it's just pick your religion of what you want to sound the best. And some people say the Kemper sounds a little better or takes pedals a little bit better versus the other one has better built-in pedals, and the Kemper's built-in pedals aren't the greatest, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I went down that rabbit hole, and it was fun. It was just cool to be like,
well, I always resisted them because I'm such a pedal snob that I need the delay from this company, I need the phaser from that company, and that and that's why I couldn't use, say, a Boss Multi Effects, for instance, or something like that. But now they mimic all the companies, and they mimic them all well, so I can't even have that argument anymore.
Especially for stage, right? I can see for like if you're recording and you're like you've got a great ear and you know all that, and it's sometimes really easy just to tweak that one little knob on the floor for the pedal that and you know the pedal so well how to do it. I completely get that. But like when you're playing for stage at a gig or something, like nobody's gonna know in the audience. It's indiscernible in the audience. And then you don't have to worry about a tube burning out halfway through a set or whatever left field things that get thrown at you that way.
We had a question on your Telecaster. What year is that Tele up above your left shoulder?
That one. That right there is it's probably a 2005, 6, 7 American vintage hot rod. So it's a full nitro finish, has a Seymour Duncan mini hum in the neck. I love that guitar. And I gave it that was one of those guitars that like I gave it its first chip though, like a little finish chip, and it went back to the case for like 6 months. I was in mourning, and I was like, whatever, get over it, man. Yeah, it's great. But I like that one a lot. It's just a real fun player, and it sounds, because I think they balance the bridge pickup pretty well with a mini hum in the neck. It means that like you play that through a Marshall with the bridge pickup, and it sounds fantastic, and you still get syrupy, but still cutting neck pickup tones out of it.
Right.
So I dig that one a lot. Let's see.
But yeah, I can understand what you say about the nitro finish, but on the other hand, that's the finish that's going to check and fall apart and look awesome.
It should be played. It should be worn. It should be leaned against things. It's not a baby. And that's the
both my old ones, they're chipped a lot, and like 67, my dad played for years on stage, and he played that thing into the ground. Like, it's pretty much a worn out guitar.
Yeah. But it's how they should be. It's the Mojo. I bought that one used, but it was a case queen. And I got it at a steal. But at the time, the $800 I got it for was all the money in the world. So it was the baby, and I don't want to screw it up, and I don't want to do anything. And then now it's like, okay, it's part of the thing. It gets out there, it gets its play. I usually, like, I've got a 70s Les Paul Custom, and I got it because it was still in great shape, but it had its share of bumps and bruises and some wear to the finish. And it's great because then I can't tell if I put another one in, or if I did, it's like, oh, whatever, it's got plenty. It's lived.
Yep.
And then that's why I also I like buying tip for inexpensive collecting, the late 70s, early 80s Japanese lawsuit era stuff from like Bernie, Greco. Some of the Tokais are still sort of approachable in prices there. Yamaha. Those things, you can get into them for $500, $600, $700. But I brought this one in from Japan, sorry. It's a Bernie. And my buddy has a really nice custom shop, aged, or I guess that's an R7, or I forget which, R7C. And he was like, my God, it is really, really, really spot on in almost every way.
Yeah.
And this one, because it's a 3 pickup, it's all original, little bumps, little scrapes. I can play this all day long. I don't have to worry about killing it. And it feels like a Gibson, plays like a Gibson. The thing is just so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got mojo. It's got that, like, this has been around. I like to think it's been around Japanese bars for the last 35 years.
Exactly.
Hold on one sec. Hey, Matt. I've got 10 more minutes, okay?
And welcome, Brian Stewart. Welcome, the Guitar Pit. Good to see you guys. Awesome. Yeah, and we're discussing a little bit about it off air. Like the cheaper guitars, if you want to call it that, or the lower price point guitars. We're in a different era where, like my dad's generation, you owned one guitar, one amp, and that was your workhorse. You might have had a backup of each, but that's only because you happen to have a backup, and that was a luxury. Whereas, a lot of people, I'd rather have 10 $500 guitars than one $5,000, just for the variety. You can fill up a wall. You have a collection. You feel like you're out of that scene in Spinal Tap. Yeah.
Well, and you can like so many guitars. It's great to enjoy a few hours of taking something like a weird offset thing with P90s in it and running through your gig and finding stuff and maybe play some shoegaze or play some whatever. Like, have fun with it because it takes you on the journey that it's a whole different guitar. And you find that some guitars just immediately you start playing free ride. Because it's just that's what's there. That's the tone. That's the thing. Like, oh my God, this is the thing. And you don't have to be locked in. But it's also,
I find that so much, like, playing covers. I have like multiple overdrives on my pedal board, so I'm not tweaking pedals all night and stuff. So you have your low, your mid, your high gains, whatever. And of course, plugging in a different guitar into each pedal, you have so many combos. But I don't know about you, but it's like I plug in, I turn on, I'll hit a chord. And you hear a song just based off that one chord. And then it's like, okay, do I know it? And if not, I'm figuring it out right now.
Yeah. And for me, I'm not the greatest player. I always say I have much more gear than talent. And I've done t-shirts. I'm proud of that. I'm trying to catch up, but maybe never. But it's fun because I'll hear it and I'll be like, oh, and I'll have like the first little bit and I'll be like, okay, cool. And then over the next however long, I'll try and fill out the rest of the song, or at least enough that I can have some fun with it. And it's just fun. It's a good time. But you also, think about it back in the day, man, when your only guitar, you had a Les Paul in 77 and its headstock broke. And that was it. your world has ended. Like I will still be bummed if any of my headstocks break, but at least I still have another guitar to go and run with. And you can pick up something now for $250 used.
Yeah.
And gig with it. And gig with it and be able to successfully gig with it.
Just something simple as, like, if you have half a dozen guitars that you play on a regular basis, a couple of times where I've had a busy work week and I'm gigging after work one night and I go to load up and I'm like, I forgot to change strings. Okay, what guitar has the freshest strings even?
Exactly.
So that's my number one tonight. And the one with the second freshest is, I guess, will be my backup.
Yeah, exactly. And it works out fun. Plus, I mean, I love guitars, right? This is my art collection behind me. Yeah. So I can sit here and chase my kids around, help them do the homework, vacuum and pick up stuff for the wife. And I still get to see them and enjoy them up on the wall. And if you're playing one and staring at the other ones, it's really kind of, I don't know, I like it. It's fun. It's a nice way to enjoy it. And if you buy right, I tell everybody, buy right, buy used as much as you can. We already talked about It's already had that little ding, so it won't break your heart. But the other thing is, if you buy used, you can usually move it within 10% of what you bought it for, which means that when life happens, you know, I had like 12 or 13 guitars. My wife got an internship. We were dating at the time, and she was going to be without work for like 15 months, or what ended up being 15 months. So every couple months I'd sell a guitar. We do something on the weekend. We go away, we get a hotel, whatever. And that I'm still reaping the rewards of that now, because even though she knows I've got problems, she knows I can let things go. But you can convert it back into money. It's not like, I have friends that have boats and they look at me like, you're an idiot. You have 30 guitars. So I'm like, you're an idiot. You have a boat. You know, like you've lost money on it. It costs you $150 a weekend. You have to store it. You have to trailer it. You have to put it up. You have to do all your stuff with it. Like guitars. So when your wife says, "What are you doing, folks?" or your husband or any significant other, you can say, "At least it's not crack or a boat."
Yep. And like you say, generally, as long as you don't overpay, you can always get your money back out of it. Yeah. And hey, if you keep it for 2 or 3 years, who knows? You might make a bit of money.
And I sold 15 guitars in the last 3 or 4 months, attempting to condense the collection, and of course, it just re-expanded. But and I figured out from a full no inflation. Every time I say this, someone that actually knows money is like, yes, but you didn't account for inflation for those guitars, and truly, you've lost money based on the value of dollar. Okay, I understand that, but for just fixed dollar value here, for simplicity's sake, I lost like 7% on those 15 guitars. And it's because 2 of the expensive ones I really wanted to move, so I didn't wait them out for 2 months. I wanted them to move in 10 or 12 days. And that was it. Most of the other ones, I made money. I made some really nice money on some of them because I'm also the opportunist. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I need a pink Les Paul Jr. from 86 or 87, and that's the only guitar I'm looking for. No, right. I look at Les Paul Juniors, and one happens to pop up for $425 randomly that has a gloss finish. I'm going to buy it. Exactly. Like that's my way of guitar acquisition.
And the way I see it too is, you know, like when it costs you $20 to go to a movie, if you play a guitar for 2 hours, hey, that's $20 in value right there. It's
the truth, man. And it's, if you write a song, if you have a couple of moments with it, you've got value out of the thing. For sure. And then having a YouTube channel, as you will learn if you haven't already, is the world's worst enabler.
Oh, yeah.
I need this TV Pelham Epiphone Les Paul Custom with Probuckers in it so that I have it to compare other guitars to it as a standard thing, because people can go play something like this in the store, so that way they'll know how it compares to that. Yep. Yeah. So then it's
or even like when we had the custom guitar built, I was deciding on pickups, and Richie says to me, "Well, you already have a passive single coil, you have an active single coil, you have a humbucker telly, you don't have a P90 telly." So I was like, well, I guess I'm getting P90s in it then.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think there was a question on the channel. Maybe the blue guitar? Someone was asking one of the guitars behind me.
If it's probably the one over your left shoulder, because he owns several Gibson Les Pauls.
That one. The gold top? Or no, the one over there? Yeah. That one? That's a 2016 Les Paul Standard T. That was repatriated. Toman in 2017 into 2018, maybe. No, 2016 and 2017 blew out 2015 and 2016 Gibsons at crazy prices. So I got some of the Les Paul traditionals with the gold case and the auto magical crap tuners for I think $1,050 and $1,100 brand new from them.
Wow.
Brought them back to the States. That guy I think I got for like $1,450 or $1,500.
Nice.
From Toman. That's a heck of a player. Actually, has been in its case. Once again, that doesn't have its first mark on it yet. So it's been sitting in its case for a long time. I'm like, you need to go out and play it, Nick. So this month it's out. But
hey, Guitar Hack says he has the same Les Paul.
Oh, there you go. It's the Light Burst, I think is what they call it. The only knock that thing has is that it's very much similar to a very common Epiphone burst. Right. So like you walk in and like, oh, it's not. No, it's not. Like it has a very similar burst to it, which is the only thing I can knock it. But that's it.
You're not only say it's missing a pick guard.
Yeah, I go back and forth. If it had the pick guard on it when I bought it, it'd still have the pick guard on it now. I've got a blue traditional that has like the detachable pick guard that still has the vestigial organ screw on it, which is cool because it still looks correct.
Right.
And that'll have it on or off depending on mood or whatever.
Hey, there's Ike. Flipside Music.
Hey, what's happening, Ike? We were talking about you earlier, man.
Yes. All good
good things. All good things.
Yes. Well, we've hit the top of the hour, folks, so we're probably going to wrap things up here. You know, certain people need to get off to bed.
I need to get off. I have a little girl staring at me. I need to give her meds, and she's got to go to sleep soon. But
so, do you have anything to add? It was great having you on, Nick.
So yeah, what can I say? So my channel, my ethos, I have some nice stuff. Actually, I talk more about nice stuff, this thing that I normally do. We're in the golden age of inexpensive guitars. And you don't just have to run out and buy a made in the USA Gibson. If you want, go ahead, or Fender or whatever. There's so many awesome, really cool guitars. And I've got a bunch of them on the wall here. And it's so much fun because you can go dig through them. You can go to music shops, find them used ones. It's a journey type of guitars. Play them. Enjoy the fact that we can do that for 150, 250, 300 bucks. You can go out and get it for like, it's the cheapest, if you look at inflation, we could ever go and buy quality guitar gear. And we're lucky. And then teach kids how to play guitar so we still have guitarists. Creating a market because it is thinning out a little bit, and we need to keep people playing guitar.
Yes, I'm always happy when I see someone in the chat under the age of 40.
Yeah, it's really, I love it when I'm like, I'm only 14 and I'm saving up and I really want to buy this Harley Benton. Should I buy it? I'm like, yes, you should. Do it. I like that one. It's great.
I'm sending you $5 in PayPal to help you with that.
Yeah, exactly. Here's some strings to put on the thing. Or I get the other one too, where my mom just bought me an Affinity Strat, and what's the best thing I can do for it? I'm like, have you changed the strings yet? Let's start with changing the strings once, and then get some more stuff in the setup. So this is great, man. I really enjoyed this. Anytime you want me to come back on, hopefully when it's I've got a little bit more time too, it would be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to have you back on. I think we just scratched the surface. That's for sure. And well, yeah, if you just hold line for a sec, I want to thank all 54 of you apparently watching. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and ring that bell so you're notified, in theory, whenever I put out some content. I will be back live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, with Sean Pierce Johnson. That should be fun. We'll be talking.
Oh, that'd be great. Good dude.
Yeah, great guy. And again, thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Oh, we're up to 56 because it always happens if you
right as you leave
earlier, you start wrapping things up. People jump in.
Michael Smith has one question quick that I will answer. He said, "What's the hardest guitar I'd have to part with?" The hardest one I have is probably, I have a Gibson ES 135. It's a Blue Burst. It's like a semi-hollow, thin line, single cutaway thing, but it's like a jazz size thing. It was the first guitar that I sold my soul to be able to own. Like, it was like 800 bucks new. I love the guitar. I put a Bigsby on it. Of course I did. I love that. And then my dad gave me a 67 SG Junior that actually has like a matching headstock to the body, which is weird. Wow. They did it in 67, 68 on a couple of them. That's like the lowest action, craziest playing guitar you're ever going to see. And those would be the two that I did. Followed probably, if all guitars cost the same money, my Harley Benton L450, because I love that stupid guitar.
Well, there we have it, folks. That's awesome. Cool. So,
all right, guys.
I always say, hold those doors open. Let that guy in ahead of you in traffic. Do good things, and good things will happen to you because karma is real. I'm living the dream. Nick's living the dream.
Oh, yeah.
So until next time, be good to each other, folks. Peace and rock on. Cheers.